All right, so we'll call the meeting of Operation Oswego County to order. Something else that's new, Karen's gonna do a roll call, so anyone who is listening to the recording will know who's in attendance for the meeting from the Board of Directors.
Eric Bailing.
Here.
Kevin Carapoli. Pete Cullinan.
Here.
Joe DeMars.
Here.
William Galloway.
Here.
Ellen Holtz. Here. Ryan Malone.
Here.
James Mason.
Here.
Trisha Peter Clark. Here. Jim Ransom.
Here.
Tom Roman.
Here.
John Sharkey DeFord.
Here.
Michelle Shatro.
Here.
Ron Tascarella.
Here.
Rick Weber.
Here.
Abby Weaver.
Here.
We have a forum.
Wonderful.
No, he's here.
Oh, okay. Notice of meeting. I did see it in the Bell Times on April 25th, so Karen, we're good for notice of meeting, correct?
Yes, we are.
All right. The consent agenda contains the board minutes from March 16th and the executive committee minutes from April 9th. Hopefully people have had a chance to read those. If we entertain a motion to approve those.
I make a motion, we approve.
Jim Ransom,
I'll second.
and we've got Ellen as a second. Are there any comments or feedback on either one of those? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Financials, Kevin and Ron.
I think Ron's gonna jump into that.
Yeah, a summary just of, there's two financials in here, one Operation Oswego County and one Operation Oswego County Foundation. So Operation Oswego County, the big change year over year is just cash increase, $400,000 year over year with the sale of the business expansion center building. Income is up 3%, personnel cost is up 2%. For overall, our net operating margin is about break even year. I don't know if there's any questions on the operation of Oswego County financials through the first quarter of 2024.
We want two separate.
Yes.
Would anyone be willing to make a motion for the Operation Oswego County financials as represented? So moved. We got Eric, okay? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Tricia? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or any abstention? Okay.
And Operation Oswego County Foundation, security-based income, $3,000. Minimal expense, small loss on the year. But today the big thing is cash is held steady at $35,000, about $36,000. Not a lot for that. If there's any questions on Foundation financial. So, right there, right?
So we entertain a motion to approve the foundation financial. Tommy and Billy,
First section.
any discussion, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Okay. Thank you. Kevin, the 990 in New York State.
Yeah, HR 500. So like any other for-profit developer, for us, it's really the last part of year end where for internal work, we do the financial audit, we finish Paris, and now it's time to file the 990s and the New York State HR 500, which is the sister return to the federal 990. For both OOC and the foundation are both required to file. This has been the same, it's been the case for decades. They've been prepared by Grossman St. Amour. We've done a staff review in-house, back and forth with Jamie on a couple of questions, and they're ready to file. We reviewed them in the executive committee meeting on the 9th, April 9th as well. So you have those in that portal in your packet. Unless someone would like me to, I wasn't planning on doing a detailed review, but certainly happy to take any questions. I think it appears to be ready to file. And we do need a board authorization to file for the foundation and for proposals.
And you want two for those, right?
Karen, is it best to have two in the meeting for that?
So,
Yeah, would say so, two different entities. And we have until the 15th of May to file them, which is, this is kind of typical for us. We have a board meeting in the first 10 days of May, and a little bit of a rush to file, but still it's 10 days, 11 days, so plenty of time. We'll get the file on time. Cool. The 990 is filed electronically by the accountants. Once we authorize today, he has to do an electronic signature to get them filed, and then we file in the office. And when the New York State Chart 500, the filing procedures changed a couple of years ago, and it's now an online filing handle in-house.
So we entertain a motion to file for Operation Oswego County. Right. Alan? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Now we need to do it for the foundations. Need another motion. Joe, you have a second? Ryan or Ryan? Oh, doesn't matter. So, Ryan. Any discussion on that one? All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Good.
Thank you.
Bylaws. So, you have a copy of the bylaws in your packet in front of you. I'm gonna do a summary, if that's all right. I'm gonna ask Mr. Weber to chime in as well, if he'd like to, or anybody else that was in the meeting. But the biggest change we have, and it's several places throughout the document, has to do with removing verbiage related to SBA 504 loan program. So that's like the big deal. That's the reason we dealt with it. And now at the same time, we took a look at some other things. So I'm going to hit some highlights. This is red line, so you can see what's changed. Other things that jumped out as at me as significant. So we talked about removing reference to the SBA 504. Quorum, there was some wording cleanup in the quorum for the board, percent of voting members. Section 7 clarified absence for board members being absent from either a regular board meeting or committee meetings that they're supposed to be at. If they don't have an excuse, so unexcused absence. There is an allowance that we put in, as long as it's consistent with the ADO, for board members to be present in extenuating circumstances remotely. So we see that from time to time, but we do want to make sure we're following the ADO, so that wording is the bylaws to that effect. Treasurer, we made a word change. It now reads shall have oversight. It used to read shall have charge, and kind of a strange word to use, so we went with oversight. In reality, Kevin's doing the day-to-day, the hands-on aspects. Ron as treasurer currently would have that function, those roles, and review with Kevin. So just a clarification of wording there. We revised the executive committee authorization under Article 4, Section 1, Bravo. That allows the executive committee to provide credit approval, but it also specifically removes SBA 504 wording that was in there before. So that's kind of throughout the documents. We had to get rid of it, sections. And I got a couple more flags. Each standing committee of the board will have a minimum of 7 board members appointed within now 30 days instead of 2 weeks of the annual meeting, just to give some flexibility time so we can reach out to board members and make sure they're good with the standing committees we'd like to appoint them to. It's feedback. And then Section 4, if we create an ad hoc committee, throw nuclear, throw micron, throw anything you want to in there. But if we organize an ad hoc committee, can allow board members to be on those committees, especially if they have some level of expertise that would benefit the committee structure. So there are some other changes, but they're mostly wording cleanup changes. Mr. Weber, anything?
Sure, I'll just jump in real quick. The first thing to bear in mind, we brought together this committee to take a look at these bylaws primarily because it had been a solid decade since any significant revisions had occurred to the bylaws. The last time we did it, I think, was in 2017. That was a one change. Before that, we had some changes in 2016. So it was about time to take a look at the bylaws and see if they matched up with what our current organizational objectives are. Frankly, the change in the SBA program provided a good rationale for going through entirely. As Pete indicated, a lot of the changes that are not specifically related to that are related to making sure we're clarifying how we get to a quorum, making sure board members are attending meetings as best as we can in a set of bylaws, and generally making sure we're running the board at kind of its optimal capacity.
Tell us where in here that was a reference about the remote connection at Terry. I don't see that red line underneath anything, powers of the director.
So when I referenced that, it was Article 2, Section 7.
Yep.
I go on my notes.
Number 86.
Heard that sentence.
Oh, so it's just that red line.
Yeah, there are a couple of changes that did not get redlined, that we could mention. And, sure exactly, why that occurred, but everything that Pete pointed out is a change from prior bylaws. But one other, I think, important add-on is actually a red line that we added on page 3. This red line, section M, board felt it's important to call out as one of our purposes, support a variety of housing needs. All things like we substituted the language related to the SBA. So we kept this section, but we changed. We took that opportunity to call out housing as general purpose.
That was something that was important identified in the strategic plan process, that housing is critical to the economic development future. And so we felt it was important to have that also included in the bylaws. So this helps us in the future when we actually provide for other things that it's actually part of our bylaws. Part of what we do.
We need a moment, just foundation why the SBA is taken out.
Yeah, so a couple years ago, so in 2023, the board took an action to discontinue us being a certified development company. So we were at the smallest certified development company in the state, and by statute, if you are a certified development company in New York State, you can do a project anywhere. However, because our purpose is to service Oswego County, we will not do projects outside of Oswego County. But there are multiple other entities that overlap and do projects here. And they, the challenges of that program are there's very strict, you have to do X amount of project for every 2 years. Your reporting requirements don't change if you're the largest. If you're pursuit, you're doing 2 projects a week, or if you're doing 2 projects every 2 years. Just about what we were trying to do. We're trying to stay on that. So we made the decision at the time that because of the administrative burdens placed on us by the program and the challenges that we were finding having to try to make the minimum requirements of keeping it, that we gave up the program, and we have developed relationships with Greater Syracuse Business Development Corporation that is now being operated through Center State for them doing that. So we still have strong ties to the program, and we have good understanding of how the program works. We can do some things on referrals. But it was becoming a very onerous program for us to try to administer while doing everything else, without having projects actually come out of it, yeah.
So the business still get this key.
Absolutely, yeah, it doesn't mean they couldn't get one, it just means that we wouldn't be the ones directly doing that alone.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, we, absolutely, there's multiple entities, they pursue SBDC, like I said, any of them in New York State, Adirondack, all of these, they do them, because it's, but because of our unique, this is something we've seen with a lot of them, I mean, there were other ones that were just dropping off, any of them that were sort of specific to a very, geographic location were dropping, because, we're obviously not gonna be doing the work of Oswego County if Kevin and I are going to Cuba County or going to Jefferson County and doing the project that's not us. So.
I didn't want to put we were forcing ourselves.
No.
We were trying to get out from under the administrative burden, but still make sure the function's there. That makes sense.
Right.
Extremely labor intensive, time intensive, lots of resources for the amount of fees that we generate, and just over time, it just can't make sense.
And a lot of our time was spent having to do sort of auditing and administration on whole projects that just weren't, so like I said, Kevin, my time, Kevin in particular, like 20 to 30% of his time is having to do stuff chasing after 504 related stuff, and he's not out there helping other people.
So we informed the SBA about all this.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It was about a year process.
I could add too, we still get placed on roll, though unofficial in service, so there are roughly 20 or so outstanding SBA level 4 loans in the county that we originated. And while the formal legal responsibility of what they call servicing those loans lies now with SBA, we have those relationships. We're often getting the call. Sometimes we can't help them. We have to refer them to SBA, but we have direct phone numbers, names, direct email addresses of people to get people help. So I feel like at least we haven't left anyone stranded and gotten a loan through us for that program. We still have the ability to get them assistance. And then we also acknowledge that Austin and I have in the program too. We can sit with a client in a bank, talk through how this program, look at whether it will qualify or how it could be structured to qualify. You still do a lot of those consultative things that we used to do. We just aren't the underwriters who sort of lender of record.
We may operate as a gap financer, but we're putting them in touch with the bank, or if they're not already in touch, we're putting them in touch with a 504 lender. So we're still involved in that project.
Quick comment about forum. So the nonprofit rules changed, I think, a few years ago, where forum established at the beginning of the meeting, but if somebody left, they dropped the forum still considered, you're still in effect for voting. So the way this reads, it says that if a forum is not present, those members of the board of directors of the corporation, if forum must be present for the duration of the meeting. That's not really what the nonprofit rules say anymore. So once you establish a forum, if somebody leaves, those things are voting. So I think it would be an important piece to capture that. That was the change a couple of years ago.
Okay, that's a great point, and if that is in fact, and that's very flexible for us, that's actually to our benefit, so we can have that
That's
happen.
why I'm saying that drop off and take some voting, but your forum is still considered active. That's a big meeting.
We just try to get all the voting things done as fast as possible.
That's free.
Take a look at that, because I know under Robert's rules, that is the rule, but if somebody calls for a quorum during a meeting, there isn't one, then the business stops. Not that we're reference to Robert's rules, but
Is it more of an issue of public authority law, or is it an issue of non-profit?
it sounds like not-for-profit law. So,
I mean, I'm sure that.
Yeah.
We had to change our bylaws and have it obviously.
Well, that is something, I guess maybe we could, if that is the case, I mean, it's a small change to this, but if it is, then I think we should incorporate that, not have to have enough meeting to do that.
yeah.
If I'm wrong, I'll put on it. But if I'm right, I'll have it.
It's 501c3.
Well, yeah, this is a not-for-profit, this is a
Yeah.
501c6, but
So how would you move forward?
I would say, we'll prove this subject to the change related to forum. So that it's it's an approval, subject to that change in language to, they conform provisions, corporation.
If that's.
Yeah, well, it will one way or the other, right?
It'll be either relative or less.
Right.
Yeah, I think I would second that approach that Kevin's articulated. I think that's the right way to go.
That's it.
It's,
So. The motion would be to approve the adjustment in it, that right, or approve as written. And then make adjustment. Requirements.
I think it was approved if the not-for-profit law allows for that, and so that change would be incorporated if so. And if not, then we'll have.
Yeah, I mean, it's approval subject to verification, not profit corporation.
Yep.
As it pertains to quorum.
Who wants to make that motion? Tommy?
I'll put my
Don't
stamp right on
remind
it.
me.
I'll second that.
Put it out there, too.
Yeah, that's right.
By the way.
That's right.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay? All right. Wow. Annual meeting, huh?
Sure, so I am excited to announce that, so we have a couple changes related to our annual meeting this year. But the reason is that we have a great keynote speaker, and to be able to make that work on that date, the time is gonna have to get moved. So I'm gonna start with the time change first. So we have, as long as I've been here, we've always had an annual meeting breakfast. For this coming year, for June, it's gonna be June 18th. We're actually gonna have it be a lunch, annual meeting. The event will start, everyone will be left the door at 11:30, and then right around 12:15, we'll start our typical program like we do. And, we have, Rich Bartletti, from Constellation, will be doing a, fireside chat keynote, similar to what, we did with President Nwosu last year. But went over very well. People like the interaction of having that sort of a fireside chat as a keynote. And so I will be having discussions with Rich Bartletti from Constellation related to the extension of the existing nuclear plants for another 20 years, what that means for Oswego County, as well as talking about new nuclear and Oswego County and that. So not saying right now, it'll be very clear, we're not making any sort of announcements, we're not doing anything like that, but Oswego County has a very unique, being the nuclear capital of New York State, really the one piece of an opportunity in front of us. And so we'll be talking about that and seeing how that goes. So it'll be nice, it'll be a great event, and I think, hopefully see everybody there for that. But that's the keynote for that. We'll be also doing sort of the typical other stuff that we do, presenting on selected projects and initiatives throughout the county, like we did before. But we'll be doing that event, and we'll also be playing a video there as well. So, any questions about that? So obviously we'll be having a lunch menu and not a breakfast. So, but that'll be at where we normally do it at Lake Ontario Event Conference Center. It's not gonna be here. It'll be there. Should be a nice event.
Yeah.
Moving on, Ron, nomination committee.
Ellen and myself and Austin met a couple a month ago. We're beginning to explore open spots coming up this next calendar year. So we made recommendations, 4 names to put forward as Susan Poe, National Grid, she's Regional Manager of External Affairs. Sarah Broadwell, Executive Director of Greater Oswego Chamber of Commerce. Rhea Hudson, Manager of Local Government Affairs at Constellation. Then John Murray, Facility Manager at the US Bank. So those would be what I don't know, folks that other names, the names that got kicked around, have a good discussion, names are alive of staff that operations.
I just want to add too on that. So we have 4 people who are stepping off for this year. I talked about this at the last one. Ellen Olson is stepping off the board. Ellen, how long have you been on the board? I think at least 12, 15 years, something like that. Thank you for your time. Tina Tucker is going to be stepping off the board as well. Hugh Redmond stepping off the board. And then Dan Murphy from Constellation. So there were several of the people that were coming in were sort of strategic in terms of filling in key roles. So, we've always had good ties to National Grid, we've always had good ties with the nuclear facilities. And then, John Murray is the facility manager, plant manager away for EJUSA, the largest manufacturer in industrial park down. We have a lot of growth happening. And also a fellow lives on the North Shore, so we have to keep our North Shore members intact. But yeah, I think a lot of it was sort of filling some open strategic roles that we were looking to do, and yeah. So, Ron, anything else you wanted to add on that?
Picked up 4 good names, I think, for us that we thought for next year potentially.
And by process, there would also be an opportunity to throw names out. Process.
Can you just repeat the name?
Yeah, Susan Cole, so she's from National Grid. Sarah Brockwell, Chamber. Maria Hudson, Constellation, and then John Murray, BJ.
All right. Moving on to Discovery.
Yeah, so we're getting closer to a potential sale of the Discovery Daycare facility that we've been leasing for over 30 years now, 32 years, I believe, at this point, to 31 to OCO. We're working on final language and working between Kevin Caracoli on our team and Dennis Osborne on the OCO team. So I know Kevin had just provided me some language on that last week. I think we're getting close. So for those who remember late last year, the project, it's about a $3 million project between acquisition, renovation, and expansion of that facility. There was a $1 million grant through Empire State Development that was attached to the project because of the significant cost and how big of a child care is, especially down in Southern County. So yeah, we're working through that process with them, and ultimately, it's been a good run for us owning that and leasing it to them. But we're looking at saying, hey, how do we want to best deploy our assets? And it's a facility that on the best years would break even, and on some years would not. And so it just makes the most sense to have that in the hands of that group, so they can make the investments into it that they would like to do. So it's a good way to turn that asset over, and then for us to sort of say, how do we want to redeploy those assets in the best way possible? So I can talk about it a little bit later, but between the sale of BDC and this, that's a significant amount of funding that we're looking at to reinvest into entrepreneurship, innovation. So it's
What's the timeline?
So for the incubation or for the sale? So I would have thought it probably been done by now. But I think that, so we actually did there's a lease extension that takes through June of next year. I think it's or July of next year. So they have to close that sale by July of next year. All discussions we've had with them is going to happen sooner. But that is sort of the drop dead they have.
The contract is styled as a lease extension with an option purchase, and then a secondary document, a purchase agreement. Once they exercise the option, we already have an agreement in place. They just have to sign it. Prices are fixed. And what they're getting.
Prices fixed and already, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it's a overall sale and purchase is their sale and option is $125,000.
I won't think the same.
And the lease monies are separate. It doesn't get credited towards the purchase. So we're not allocating money, we're not giving them any any further credits or benefits. It's straightforward.
No, no, we've set what the price is if they buy it tomorrow, or if they buy it very end of that time, so it's more incentive.
Any other questions?
Sure, so, we're working on multiple initiatives related to this plan, as we talked about before, the operation of Oswego County and the county were, notified earlier this year that we are the recipient of a micro enterprise grant. That, we have the expansion, we have, one of the other things that I think, just came up in the marketing, when the marketing group met, was talking about putting together an RFP for, rebranding at the website. We're getting to that point where that's gonna have to happen very soon. So that's something that is related to the strategic plan. We are also, this is something I'm working with Nate, in particular, looking to grow our staff capacity here. We're gonna have, between the different grant programs that we have through IDA and OOC, we're gonna be spending probably over $10 million in grant funds in the next 2 years, and probably somewhere in the range of $17 to $18 million all together. So our need in the next couple of years is significantly beyond the program, sort of, program administration side. So we're looking at growing our capacity there later this year. That is going to coincide with some of those programs that we're doing. But yeah, a lot of the major initiatives, the one I think that we're going to have to take in I wouldn't say necessarily a different direction, but we're going to have to prioritize bringing in outside economic development, marketing, rebranding assistance. We're going to have to do that here in the future to keep that project definitely on track for launching at the end of this year. So everything else, though, I think we're working along on schedule. I don't know if anyone had any other questions about that, but it's a good process so far. And I think what the plan would be is that probably at our December board meeting, and kind of going over the strategic plan in terms of, as a board anyway, where we are in certain items, and then also working through things in committees to address certain, the specific areas that those groups have jurisdiction over.
Okay. Thank you, correct.
Yeah, so there's actually an item on that I didn't put on here, but I'm gonna have Amber in particular over there, talk about with Alex as well, supporting her on that, about the 2025 marketing report. This is put together for the marketing committee, but we think it's important that the entire board.
So beginning of it, we have stats throughout the year that we put on to publications, website, newsletter, events. Next, we have some social media highlights. You're going to see the followers, total engagement, total reach. You're also going to see the word followers. We have 2024 and 2025. You can see the difference in the increase over time. And we also have some newsletter engagements, how many weeks it's out, engagement we got from them. And websites with how much visitors we have, and all stats related to that. And you're going to get to see Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You're going to see how much engagement we get. And we also have the 2024 stats versus the 2025, see how it kind of flows and goes throughout the year. You also get to see which platforms have posts that have the top.
One thing that Amber wouldn't know, she's diving in now, but previously, it's been spoken about in the marketing committee meetings, is to have a graph, see exactly where they compare year after year. We haven't been able to do that yet because for 2023, the stats were just zero across the board. So I think after this next year, they will be able to do that. So that will change a little bit. And the other thing is, Amber has worked hand in hand with me to figure out exactly what topics are the most trending, what people really like and engage with. And it's interesting to see that some of it is just stats about office staff, and then some is about grants or the businesses, so it's been fun.
One of the things I wanted to say is that our, obviously the statement that was done, so if you look at the top performing content, the supporting novelists, and that was obviously the most viewed and most sort of engagement on that. But then the second most was the 6 acres farm ribbon cutting that took place in the town of Mexico. So it just shows that there's, from the largest business and those kinds of things to the small agriculture, that people are very interested in business across the street. So pretty cool to see that actually play out. Me too. How was your opening actually on Friday? Good. Cool. All right. Anything else, Amber, you wanted to add?
No.
No. So one of the things I want to say, and obviously we'll get into all the details here, but Amber has been working on our marketing since she came in. Honestly, she's been sort of increasing her roles and responsibilities. Taking on additional roles and responsibilities as part of that, and then we also have an additional new staff person will be joining actually at the end of this month on June 1st. So I'm not going to get into all the details on that, but you'll see that come across here in the next couple of weeks. So it'll be different, but it'll be exciting, and I think we'll be good job. So all right, move on. Nate, do you want to give us an update on OCIP expansion?
Yeah, feel like a little bit of a broken record in some respects because they keep saying we're close, and we are even closer to breaking ground. So finally, on the federal side, the EDA finally approved our bid documents, and so now we are actually in the process of preparing to actually get this out and advertised. So we are very close on that end. That was kind of a final approving piece. Also, with wastewater down in the village of Phoenix, that was a big part of that puzzle as well, and getting that all approved with the IMA that needed to be put in place. So a lot of pieces of the puzzle. The DEC seems to be on board. The Fish and Wildlife seem to be on board. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. All these various agencies really needed to kind of get all on the same page, and I think we are finally, knock on wood, at a place where everybody feels pretty darn good about this. So also, if I'm understanding things correctly, we are moving forward with the land sale to the IDA for the approximately 1.6 acres of current industrial park space that will be used as the entrance to the expansion. So that will be moving forward as well. So I think we're finally sort of seeing the proverbial shovel, at least in the distance right now, and saying, can we grab this and actually break ground here some point, probably in June at this point, and moving forward from there. So still on schedule. I mean, in terms of our construction schedule, we're not behind by any stretch of the means. So I think we're in very good shape.
Yeah, I do want to add something there, and it's oversight on my end. I should have had this as a separate line item. So at the executive committee meeting, so you would have seen this in the executive committee minutes from the April meeting. And this originally went through real estate and then the executive committee. So the IDA made an offer for a fair market value of $19,000 per acre for about 1.6 acres of land where the expansion of the new industrial park will go. That's important because we're using federal dollars and state dollars that are flowing through the IDA to make improvements to that property. So it makes it a lot cleaner for the IDA to own that. Potentially could have been some easements and other things like that, but could have been a challenge. The EDA has to have, covenants that run for years on these properties and other things like that. So it just would have been a challenge. Would have needed additional approvals from another body that was not the IDA to get that. So it just made sense. So that, sale was approved by the executive committee. It's gonna be based on final surveyed amount, but it'll be somewhere in the range of about $34,000, of that sale. So not a huge number, but it's important to this project, because it is gonna be where if you're down in the industrial park, and you're going around the loop there, it's gonna come off that loop right here where EJ is. It's gonna go right by their property and right into the new 185 acres there. So that's, not gonna slow anything down from our perspective, but it's just good that we have that going. So when things start flowing, it's not gonna be a problem.
And the price is consistent for where we've sold other properties.
Yep. Yes.
And appraisals.
Appraisals, yep.
Yep, so, yeah, that was something I should have called out as a separate item, and anything else, Nate?
No, I mean, I'm hoping that by the time we have annual meeting, we'll have even more sort of real solid information at that point.
So, I think right now, we're gonna be bidding this in the month of May, and then looking potentially for groundbreaking sometime June, July period. Obviously, we'll be determined based on those packages and what we get back. But we'll also be looking to have a very large sort of ceremonial groundbreaking down there as well. So good thing we're not doing it right now. The ground out there pretty wet. But yeah, so we'll be looking to do that. Probably a month and a half, something like that. The challenge is going to be also trying to do it right around the same time as the annual meeting, so we'll have to play around with that. But yeah, so great on that. Another thing we wanted to report on is Nate and I attended the 5th annual Mohawk Valley Brownfield Summit. So we're not officially part of the Mohawk Valley, but we're sort of we've been brought into the fold with our partners and friends to the east of us. So this is important. They developed this summit and they brought together experts and developers and property owners and all these people around brownfield sites. And they actually use this as an opportunity to sort of get projects done. When you go to these events, there's developers there, they learn about these sites, and they, a lot of this, and this happened actually with ours there. We focused on for those who know, it's called the Spilton site in town of Minetto. It's a former part of the Columbia Mill site right on the waterfront. We focused on that as property that we wanted to prioritize as a development site and a brownfield. So we brought information about that. We set up there. I was a moderator on a panel about how to attract developers, and made a lot of good connections and met some developers. So it was good from that perspective. It's something that their first time there, so now we kind of know what to expect going forward. We'll have a even bigger presence if we're invited back to the next one. I think we will. It went well, but no, it's a good event, and I think these are the kind of things that are looking to get more involved in as an organization and sort of putting out Oswego County as a leader in some of these. So while we're not in the Mohawk Valley, we're now an honorary member because of our participation in that. And I see this as something that's going to continue to grow larger. It might at some point be a New York State Brownfield Summit, but see on that. Other things I want to report on. So, Operation Oswego County will have a presence again with Oswego County and Senicon West in San Francisco this October. Been having a lot of discussions with the county on that. They're a little bit behind this year in terms of the packages they're putting together. They actually haven't released the registration and things like that for us. That's what's coming here in May, so it should be the time down. But talking to the county and others, they're very on board with participating at least the same level, potentially more. But we'll have to see what those packages look like in New York State. Those who aren't aware, we do not go on our own. We are a part of about 70 from New York State, and that's everybody from Empire State Development. They're the ones who have the large booth. The New York State Economic Development Council is part of that. But then partners down in Onondaga County, they have a large presence. Oswego, Mohawk Valley Edge, really a lot of our partners in regional organizations around the state go. But because of our proximity to Micron and the different things that are happening here in Oswego County, we felt it was important for us to be proactive, make these connections, meet these companies that are going to be supply chains, and part of this network to make sure that we're doing our best jobs. try to attract these, industries. So they were doing good there, and we continue to grow our presence. The first year, it was myself and Chairman Weatherup went. Last year, we doubled that, and we had, Rachel's not here, but Rachel was there, Mark Navarro, the county there on infrastructure, Jim and myself. This year, looks like we're gonna go even larger, probably 5 or 6. We're just trying to get the final head count, but it's, should be another good event and, productive in terms of, what we get out of that. So, we'll, after we come back, we'll debrief and sort of talk to you about what's coming, what's out there, but, the 2 years I've been there, there's about 1,500 different booths that get set up, different, companies that are within the supply chain. I have no idea how that, I mean, it is the most complicated, business supply chain on earth. You just go there and you like look at the different business, trying to understand how this interacts with that, interacts with that, interacts with that. And, it's a challenge, but that's why you have to do these things, sort of make those connections and understand this. So, should see some more fruit come out of that, this coming year, especially with the, expansion of the industrial park. One of the things I want to say from, I think I said this earlier, late last year after we came back, but, we had a great booth set up as part of the New York State booth. And, we had a lot of businesses that were, it was in Phoenix, Arizona last year. We had a lot of people who were originally from here, who were down there, businesses or other things that said, I went to Oswego, or I'm originally from the Syracuse area, just breaking up conversations about how you guys are going to be part of this now. And, and some of them weren't even aware, like they weren't aware of what was coming. They deal with Samsung and Intel and TSMC down in Arizona. Micron doesn't have a footprint there, but then they start hearing about what's happening here. They start hearing about the different opportunities. Several people, which Rachel was here, she knew vouch before it, she was there at those same meetings, were like, you need to talk about start coming back. These are people who are from here. They felt they had to leave for opportunities. Now they're looking at reinvesting and bringing some of that business back. So exciting stuff. And so hopefully more to come on that in the near future, related to both semicon as well as other things that are happening related to growth as we go forward. I know that Micron's going to start, they've done a lot of site work to date, so cutting down brush and everything like that. They had to get done by March 31st. There's a lot of work happening on the site. I don't know if you've been on E1 lately, you start to see the signs saying Micron trucks, you're telling them where to go. You're going to see a lot of material. I don't know, Ryan, if you guys are seeing any of that on your side, but things are starting to happen. Yeah, so. Yeah, I mean, you have to build the foundations first before you start seeing everything else, but I mean, there's a lot happening here. There's hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah, there's hundreds of millions of dollars being spent between building the infrastructure that's needed as well as literally building the foundation that's supported. So it's going to be exciting to see that happen over the next 5, 10 to 15, 20 years. Constant construction project. All right, completely different topic. New York State Economic Development Council Annual Conference in Cooperstown. So Nate and I will be attending this later this month. It's the week right before Memorial Day, so it's coming up in 2 weeks here. But it's important, again, that this is events that we go, we network with our peers across the state in economic development, as well as other companies and professional services that are in this. It's a little important this year. I haven't had a chance to tell the board yet, but I've been put on the board for New York State Economic Development Council. I don't know if it's a good thing yet. I'm not sure. We'll find out when I get there. But I was recommended by my peers to join that, so I will. We're not just going for the networking part of it, but we're going down the actual business part of it as well. So that's something else that we've been now brought in. And I think it's a good thing that, they look at Oswego County, what we're doing, what we're being proactive about. People in the nuclear industry, site development and things, and we've been identified as ones that they want to have on their report. So I look at it that way now, but maybe I'll come back and tell you later. It's I'm a poor sucker who's going to get brought up, but I think it's a good thing. But anyway, so so that'll be later this month. Other things I want to report on. So back in March, it was after our last board meeting, the Village of Mexico was announced for, the $4.5 million winner of the New York Forward. This is, called this baby VRI, so it's about half the size of the VRI for half the size of the community that VRI. So what this is gonna mean is that community is gonna have about $4.5 million to invest in downtown, both public and private projects. I am the co-chair of the New York Forward Local Planning Committee, similar to Alaska, which we hope will be those projects. Alaska will be announced in the next couple of weeks. That's what been softly described to us as what will happen, so we'll wait on that. But this will be exciting, you know, especially with some of the other things and opportunities, potentially new nuclear and everything else. The Village of Mexico has to, you know, sort of transform that downtown, sort of. You know, so they have ideas related to new housing, they have ideas for commercial development, you know, park improvement and other kinds of things that'll you know, be transformative for the Village of Mexico, like the DRI was for the city of Oswego. That's $4.5 million in a community the size of the Village of Mexico. That's New York Track B. So this is something, this is another sort of site development initiative. We are working with Mike Tormey, the owner of Riverview Business Park and the former ethanol plant down, everyone knows as the former Miller Brewery facility. We are working with them to submit a Track B application. So Fast New York is this is the same program that we applied for. We got $8.1 million for the Oswego County Industrial Park expansion. We did that through Track C, which is brick and mortar dollars. Track B is the engineering dollars. This could be up to $500,000 from the state matching with 50% match to sort of go through the process of a best and highest use plan for that facility. So unfortunately what happened to that facility over time is it got broken into pieces. So that was at one point, it was all Miller Brewery. And over time, the ethanol plant is split off. Well, the brewery was split off and turned into an ethanol plant. Wastewater treatment plant was split off and became its own parcel. The warehouse was split off and became its own thing. And then a lot of those parts and pieces got disconnected. The rail that runs through there, 6 miles, I don't know if anyone knows this, 6 miles of rail track on that site. Outside of the CSX rail yard, you said the largest private rail yard in all central. Amazing asset. They have a 20 megawatt substation there that got split off from some of the other parts. So now we're trying to put that back together. Potentially 115 kV, 115 kV, these heavy power lines that run right along that potentially has the ability to bring much more power to that site. We need to understand what sort of investments need to be made in those power lines to be able to get that power there. So it's a substantial project, and I guess probably should have just said to Nate, tell us what we're doing over there. We're working on this, but it's really to reimagine what that site can be now that the assets have been brought back together. You know, a lot of that infrastructure is aged. You know, this was the Miller facility closed down in 1995, and in some areas of that site, nothing has been done with it. So there's a lot of effort being, a lot of things that need to be done. So it's going through the engineering, figuring out, hey, what needs to be done related to this, you know, sewer capacity, or what needs to be done related to electrical, what needs to be done related to gas, and other things. So there's no other facilities like that in Central New York for sure. It's 1.1 million square feet under roof, 6 miles of track, and the potential for heavy power, heavy gas, and other things like that. But we need to understand what that site is. So we're going through that process, and hopefully that'll be submitted in the near future. Also working with partners at the IDA, with Mike Tormey, with National Grid to bring some matching dollars to make that happen. So hopefully, you know, in the next several months, we'll know where that goes. But we're not stopping at just the Oswego County Industrial Park. Looking at other assets that exist. How do we turn these around in a time that the Micron project and other things get that benefit? Exciting stuff there.
Austin, could I just interject? I think it's also worthy to note that the state is very happy that we're submitting this application, and they have really pointed out that Oswego County is well ahead of many of our partner counties in the region in terms of submission for grant dollars through this program. And so they keep on encouraging us to submit more. We say we only have so much capacity to do that, but when we find those other sites, we will certainly keep on submitting until those dollars are gone through the state. So, you know, I think we continue to position ourselves as a county in that sort of leadership role to really take advantage of this micro moment and really to come together and push our sites as hard as we can.
It's not just Micron. I know I'll talk about it a little bit after the admin stuff, the nuclear side.
Yeah.
But I've been saying this for a while now. You know, we know that Micron is going to be developing at our southern border, and we're pretty confident about new nuclear, potentially one or more new nuclear plants in this county. So Micron is the largest economic development project bar none in New York State history. One or two new nuclear plants will be the second largest economic development project. We could potentially be sandwiched. That's just really exciting stuff in terms of, you know, what does that look like, not just for our manufacturing business, but our service business, our housing, and all these other things. So I don't have it on here, but you know, the work that we've been doing at the Oswego County Micron Strategy Steering Committee is not just going to be related to planning for Micron, but planning for future nuclear and other things. So it's a good thing we've been doing that for the last. So yeah. All right, Oswego County Micro Enterprise Training and Grant Program. Nate, look at this house. Back over to you.
Yeah, so we're just in some final phases with the county in terms of some of just the pure paperwork that needs to be done with the state. So once that is all finalized, and then we'll move forward with actual a few steps that are involved with this program. Certainly a pre-application process that will come out probably maybe later in the spring or in the summer. In terms of just gathering sort of that initial cohort of information. There's a class that needs to be put together, an 8-week training course that needs to be put together, and that's all even before whether we really decide what we're funding and not funding. So there's multiple layers to this program. It's exciting for the county to have these grant dollars and to put up roughly $260,000 of money into micro businesses, 5 or less employees that are either they could be startups or currently in business. And to provide them that sort of dollars to help them to do whatever they need to do, whether it's buy new equipment, help with payroll, get started, just that little bit of boost that in the past we haven't been able to provide such dollars for outside of a lending program. So it's really great, really good for the county. I think we're all hopeful that we can push these dollars out quickly and continue to kind of replenish those funds with the state as we move forward.
This is a program that we've never had at the county level. The city of Oswego's had it in the past. The city of Fulton has had it. We look at this as a way to really get dollars into some of these small communities that do not have capacity to do that. So projects in Hannibal, projects in Sandy Creek, Stancha, all these different locations that, you know, don't have their own sort of staffing capacity to really get those dollars in those communities. So as we get this a little bit further along, and I'd ask anybody here if you have any ideas of, remember, it's got to be businesses between 1 and 5 people. They either have to create low to moderate income jobs, or the owners themselves have to do low to moderate income. So there's some rules around it.
Yep.
But we'll make sure that, you know, anyone who fits the bill, we take them through that eligibility test. But I'd like to use this as one of those opportunities to do that, not just as board members, but ambassadors for Oswego County and economic development to connect us to those who you think might be good candidates. So a little more on that. I think the plan is at this time is this will be a fall launch project. We got to get, like the thing said, we got to get through some paperwork things because we are not the direct recipient. This is in Oswego County, and then we're a sub-recipient. We're administering on their behalf. So we got some things that need to be worked out there. We look at this as we launched in the fall and funding out probably early next year. And if all goes well, reapply again and keep this thing rolling. So, okay. So we go from talking about micro businesses 1 to 5 to talking about nuclear. So you can't really get much different, you know, in terms of scale. So we've been very busy since honestly, like our annual meeting last year, 2 days after, or actually no, the day after our annual meeting last year, New York State announced they wanted to build 1 gigawatt of nuclear. And since that time, we have been pushing hard that Oswego County should be the place that happens. Earlier this year in January, the governor announced at her State of the State, she was Gonna go from 1 gigawatt to 5 gigawatts. The 1 gigawatt still to be done by NIPA, and then the additional 4 gigawatts to be done by NYSERDA. What that looks like at this point, we aren't sure yet, but all along, we've been pushing, promoting, Oswego County. Another reason why at our annual meeting, we're doing what we're doing with the keynote. We're looking for all opportunities to push and promote Oswego County as a location for. I think we've been connected. We have people at the county level, at our organization level that are being involved in high level things related to the nuclear supply chain. We're on multiple efforts with NYSERDA related to that, both on the workforce side as well as the supply chain side. So I think we're setting ourselves up for creating a foundation that Oswego County is not just a leader now, but will be a leader in the future related to nuclear. And it also just so happens that we have the 9 Mile site, the Patrick site, that has the room, that has the infrastructure, has the workforce, and probably most important, has the support. There's nowhere else in the state that has all of those things. There are some places in the state that has one, maybe two of those things. We're the only place that has one. And the state has announced, the state has said, unless they go back on it, but they've said that their plan is to see a nuclear plant substantially under construction by 2033. It sounds like a long time. We're about 6.5 years. If you saw how quickly things move in the nuclear world, that is very quick. So every day that goes by makes it more likely, this is my mind, every day that goes by without a project being announced makes it more likely that it happens here because there's no other place to be able to go. That's my position. So there's 8 communities across the state that showed interest. Now, there's only 2 places in the state that have active nuclear, and that's us and Gwinnett County. Constellation has publicly stated that the place that they support doing this. The other locations that have thrown their hat in the ring do not have nuclear, like the city of Rochester, putting it, Dunkirk out in Chautauqua County, out on Lake Erie, Young Malone up in St. Lawrence County. I think down near Watkins Glen has, so these are all places that sort of, you're interested in learning more, they don't necessarily know what it actually is. So, and I think we've all already seen a little bit of backlash and, just kind of reading the paper and stuff, some of these communities that threw their hat in the ring, they're seeing significant environmental groups sort of saying, hey, you didn't talk to us about that. So, also from the perspective of putting new nuclear where we have existing nuclear makes a ton of sense in terms of we'd be more cost effective there, right? It would be more cost effective, it would happen faster, and there would be economies. Yeah. So
The other, please, also those things over here and I say, like here, I said, was well. I would be glad to work for development and the role of the university in that space and the type of development we have expertise. Physics and astronomy department that have nuclear scientists that folks may not know now. And so that meeting I had made up Kevin walk I really intended to engage us in that particular report, but I also wanted to show energy about it. That is part of this conversation. Really setting the region up for this work and whether priority is all moving in the direction of our discussion in general education.
So for those who don't know, the Future Energy Alliance was actually an effort that was funded by the building trades and working to support new nuclear in New York State with the focus on Oswego County as being a location that already has it. There have been multiple stakeholders that have joined that Future Energy Alliance, including City of Oswego. I want to thank you and your leadership in getting City of Oswego on board with that. The county, local municipalities, there's been some large institutional businesses and others, and another one that is important. So these are all things that obviously Micron is going to at full build out. It's going to utilize about 940 or 950 megawatts of power. Governor originally said 1 gigawatt of power. That's pretty close. That's about what that is. So you start thinking about that. Micron, right now the state's already saying, hey, on a really hot day or a couple really hot days in the summer, we might be right at our capacity or we might see some issues. So if Micron's gonna need over time, that kind of power, it makes sense to put it close. Obviously, make more, the reason looking at it. So, yeah.
One other point, I guess I'd like to add, Austin and I and others, county leadership, are going to be involved in a advanced nuclear master plan, information gathering session, I guess. The state is coming to Oswego County this Friday and you know, trying to get information from us on what it's like to be a nuclear community. From start to finish, everything in between.
Say, oh, it's awful, you don't want anything to do it. Let us do it.
It's a feather in our cap to be under.
Yeah.
I think it's one more indicator, frankly, that we are right at the top, if not at the top, the next nuclear community. And with the governor's announcement at 5, we'll take another gig. But there's clearly going to be other communities that are earmarked for this, and the state coming to Oswego and asking local jurisdictions what it's like to be a nuclear community only bodes well.
Yes. We can also position ourselves how ready we are.
Kevin, I was just emphasize to the relationship that our K-12, especially our high school programs have, constellation work that, and I'm so glad you brought this up, right? Continued support that we have, being able to meet our students to look at opportunities, this provides. I'll say that, through the work that we've done with Constellation, the goal, we're looking at opening up a clean energy pathway here in Oswego County for our CTE program, which is directly tied to opportunities that we're looking at for the future. So just, once again, I'll emphasize that you're right, and it's community, we're talking about multiple players in there that are involved in that relationship, yeah.
And there's hopefully, there's the state, through NIPA is looking to invest $40 million in nuclear workforce. So, one of our priorities is to get that investment to happen here that helps both existing as well as future nuclear, sort of that pipeline, what that looks like. No. So
How many times?
yeah, a lot. We anticipate, so we submitted back in December this RFI that 8 other communities and 21 or 22 different companies did. And when we did that, we anticipated that in January or February, there was going to follow pretty quickly with an RFP. State hasn't done it. We don't know why. We don't know if the state says, well, maybe it's very clear where it has to happen, so why do we need to go through that? Or there's something we're not sure. We've talked to multiple people that are connected. They've said, hey, it'll be sometime later this year. Don't know. That could be not that long from now. That could be the end of the year. Don't know. But we're going to keep our plan is to keep Oswego County front and center in terms of as the location that new nuclear makes sense. So we will continue to do this until we're told not. Any other questions on that? And the last thing I wanted to bring up, and this was something that was also identified in the strategic plan. And unfortunately, I don't see Ed Gilson here, but this was something that Ed is sort of his division on the business outreach committee, was to grow the business outreach committee in terms of what they're working on, what they're doing. We saw this as one of the areas that had a lot of potential for growth before, in terms of being ambassadors for the county, so anyway, this is something that we're going to be working on in the near future. And so there might be other people who are asked to be participating in that, or people who are already on it. And you might see that the business outreach committee and sort of the business that they do is going to transform the next 6 months. So just want to let you know on that. That is a board-driven initiative. So that's one of the ones that was specifically identified in the strategic plan as a board-driven initiative. So we'll expect to see, more participation on that, as well as potentially more board members. So anyway, that's what I got. Oh. Yeah, it's not on here, but I'll give you the, Dell Drop, for those who weren't able to attend, they did their, ribbon. This is a project we've been working on since 2020. So it was good to kind of see it come to a head. So back in 2022, Operation Oswego County had, sold a piece of land at the industrial park, to Dell Drop, the German-owned clean room manufacturing company. It took some time. We helped them to get some grant funding. We helped them to go through the process of becoming approval. Did a lot of things, a lot of hand holding. You have a company who's investing and doing this from another location where there's different cultural norms and different ways things work. You kind of have to go through that. But it's been a great process working with them. And so last year, for those who remember that we had a groundbreaking event. It was in the mud, and I remember I gotta take my shoes from that day. Still have mud. Place never gonna get it out. But we actually had the ribbon cutting for it last Monday. It was a great event. A lot of their partners were there. And I think that, they were very appreciative of the work that Operation Oswego County did, helping them to do that. This is a company that didn't have to do this here. It could have gone anywhere. They could have grown that. They could have gone, outside of New York State and did this, but, this sound economic development's done right. We were able to send this location to do it. We talked to them about workforce. We talked to them about infrastructure. We talked to them about supply chain. And ultimately, at the end of the day, they said, Oswego County is the place where we want to do this. They made that announcement in, I think it was August or September of 2022. This is before Micron announced. So then after Micron announces, they're like, all right, well, now we're talking about future expansions. And so they got the first project. They got their first project done, or just almost 99% done, and now we're talking about future expansion projects. Exciting stuff.
Question.
Yeah.
Quick, on the, related to that, NDLP on the green right.
Yeah, so we actually talked about it just a little bit before you came in. So we are going to be going to RFP very soon related to a economic development marketing and website company for that. I would say probably within the next month or so that's going to happen. And ultimately the task of that project is for completion near the end of this year, so that we have a website that's going live in 2027. So, but the name is going to be the Oswego County Economic Development Corporation. We're going to be bringing in this outside entity that's going to be helping us with logo, with taglines. We have some ideas on that, but obviously we want to run that through somebody who does this, and then developing the absolutely best website we can possibly. Plus other assets that be associated with that video. Good question.
Next meeting.
Annual meeting.
Lunch meeting, that's right.
11:30. Don't show up there at 7:30 in the morning. No one will be there.
Or if you do, just hang around.
Yeah.
Any other business anybody wants to bring up?
John Sharkey's on. One thing I do want to recognize, and I think we're okay. I can say it out loud. John told me earlier I can say it. So the SBDC is going to be recognizing Universal Metal on Wednesday with their Oswego County Business. John, am I correct? Oswego County Business of the Year?
Yes, small business. Yeah.
Small Business of the Year. And yeah.
So yeah, if anybody wants to stop by, we're gonna have it catered with lunch at 1 o'clock.
That anyone from the board is invited to that, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so we'll send something around. So, but yeah, just 1 o'clock at Universal Metal in Fulton, if you can make it. Let us know just so that they have enough seats for you. But exciting stuff. So have enough board recognized.
Thanks, Austin.
Yep. Go ahead. Sorry. We're good. Syracuse.com is coming off their place next week with a story on United Work Technology. Nice. Yeah. Very cool. They contacted us. Who is it for Moriarty or who's coming up? And then I know. All right. They'll be there Wednesday, 11:30. Stop in. All right. Great. I don't have anything else.
Motion to adjourn. Tommy? We get a second for that?
Yeah.
All in favor?
All right.
Hi, thank you, everyone.